Yep. So, for you who don't know what's going on, it's the National Association of Broadcasters in Las Vegas. In Blackmagic, who makes video camera equipment and studio production stuff. They also are making the software for Davinci Resolve, which is the software that I'm using to make my videos. So that's what's happening now. We're about to experience this together, and let's see what we can do here. Yeah. So let's see if we can enjoy this experience together. Is there sound coming out of this thing? I don't think there is any sound. If there's sound, my background will disappear anyway. So that's kind of cool. There will be a regular show tonight as well, of course. Oh yeah, let's see if we can do a virtual. Can we do a vertical stream as well? Let's see if that's going on here. I think it is actually. So let's do a vertical stream as well while we're at it. There we go. And now we can do a vertical stream. Oh, 29 seconds left. Shit. I think I can make it. Create, go live. Schedule stream, yes. Yes. And let's start it.
Hi, I'm Graham from Blackmagic Design, and I wanted to give you a bit of an update on what we have for NAB this year. There's quite a few exciting new products. We've got a whole new SMPTE 2110 live workflow. Plus, we've got some exciting future technology we'd love to show you. We have some new cameras, plus some big audio news. And of course, we'll also be introducing Davinci Resolve 21. So there's a lot to talk about, so let's get started. So first I wanted to talk about live production switches. Now we've got some great switches. We have the ATEM Constellation switches and they're very powerful. And a good example is the ATEM 4ME Constellation 4K. It's got a lot of features, and it's got a lot of keys and DVEs and media players, and it's got a lot of inputs and outputs. But if you look at the back, it's all it's all 12G SDI. So how do we design a native 2110 model?
A lot of tech talks going to be happening.
There'll be a lot of 10G Ethernet connections. So I don't really think that looks very good. It's too complicated. So this is not the way we wanted to design an IP-based switcher. We needed a whole new design, and so we've done that, and it's called the ATEM 4ME Constellation IP. So let me show you what it looks like. I'll bring one out. There it is there. So you can see it's a very different design. Big change is the cooling system. It's cooled from the front to the back. And we actually have 4 separate fans running slowly inside to keep it quiet. We need to keep the noise level down. These switches are installed in broadcast trucks, which is where people work. Data center products have like screaming fans, and we really didn't want that. This design has to be as quiet as we can make it. You can see there's also on the front an LCD for menus and monitoring, plus there's a USB-C port for software updates. That's where you'd plug in the ATEM software utility. If you needed to do a software update, you can do it from the front panel. Now there's also a speaker and a speaker button on the front, so you can verify the program audio, and there's a headphone socket. Let's check out the back. There it is there, if you can get in on that. So you can really see how different the design is. So overall, the switch has 32 inputs, plus each input has a standards converter, but the connections use 100G Ethernet. So each 100G Ethernet port handles 8 of the video inputs and 8 of the video outputs. That's because Ethernet's actually bidirectional. So in total, this switch has 32 inputs and 28 outputs. It's all connected through 400G Ethernet ports. So that means you only need 4 cables to connect the whole switcher. And that replaces 60 separate BNC cables on an SDI switcher. So it's a massive saving on cabling. Now looking at the back, you can also see the connections are in groups of 2. Now that's for redundancy. So they work together as a redundant set. So you really only need one 100G port to connect it. But if you connect the second link, you get a backup. And so what happens is pixels are grouped into packets, and then they're duplicated going out to both of the 100G Ethernet connectors. And at the other end, whichever packet arrives first is used. So each port could be connected through a different Ethernet switch. And if there's any errors on any of the links, the other link will actually still receive the packet. It's a very reliable system. Plus it's a real-time process, so you don't get any glitches. It's kind of like having 2 SDI cables, but it's smarter because it instantly detects when any individual packet is missing. And so it's constantly error correcting. So it's a really good system. So now let's look at some of the other connectors you can see there. There's 2 separate 10G Ethernet connectors for control. So you can plug in an ATEM hardware panel into that, or you could plug in a computer running the ATEM software control. Now these ports are 10G Ethernet, so they're faster. It helps the media pool load quicker. And we've also got 2 connectors. It's like a little 2 input switch. It's good for redundancy. You can have 2 connections into the switcher. Now next to that, you'll see these 2110 PTP clock ports, which are there. Now this is basically a video reference. Now there's 2 of those for redundancy, which is very important in large broadcast systems. And we've also got a separate 1G Ethernet management port. Now you can use that port for like the ATEM utility for software updates. There's also a USB-C port on the back, and that works as a live HD webcam feed. Plus we've got some redundant power supplies inside with the connectors. Oop, there, I'm looking at it backwards. So let's turn it back around and we'll power it up. I'll place it over here. Plug some power. There's the power. Now it sounds like a data center product while it's booting up. Okay, now I'll also plug in the Ethernet. There. So I won't plug any video in yet because I wanted to try and keep this video less than 7 hours in duration. So I'll connect the video later. But let's talk about some of the features first. Now, it's an ATEM Constellation class switcher. So the features are almost identical. So it's very easy to learn. It has the 32 inputs. It's got 28 outputs. That's 24 main outputs plus 4 multi-view outputs. And each multi-view can have up to 16 live views, but you can customize the views. So with 4 multi-views overall. You get 64 different views across 4 monitors. It has 16 ATEM advanced keys. It has, that's 4 keys per row. You also get 4 DVEs for digital effects. Plus there's 2 SuperSource processors in here. And of course, each SuperSource is a layering engine with 4 of its own DVEs. So that means you get 12 DVEs in total. Of course, the switch has a lot of transitions, including mix, wipes, dip, DVE transitions. So let's have a quick look at the software. So you can see the ATEM software control over here. It's very familiar. If we can cut across to the computer, you can see this is, I just plugged in the control cable. So you can see it's very familiar. There's the switcher page, the media page is the same, the audio page and the camera page. So, you know, it looks, the feature set is the same feature set as a regular 4ME Constellation 4K model, but the design is native SMPTE 2110. So I think this will be a very popular switcher. It really delivers on everything that we've been asked to do. It's got every feature that everybody could possibly want. Now, the ATEM 4ME Constellation IP will be priced at $7,995. So that price doesn't include any local duties or taxes. And we think it should be available in about June or July. But I think broadcasters will really love this switcher. It's an incredibly powerful switcher. But of course, it does raise the question, what about something bigger? We've also done that. It's called the ATEM 4ME Constellation Plus. Now, it has the same features, but it's got twice as many inputs and twice as many outputs. So let me bring it out and show you that one. There it is there. You can see it's 3 rack units in size. Let me show you the back.
Oh, that's huge.
It's a bit heavier. Now you can see it has the extra 100G Ethernet ports because it's got a total of 64 inputs, and each input still has the standards converter. So it means also there's a total of 52 outputs, which is 48 man outputs plus the 4 separate multi-view outputs all going through. You can also see we've got the 2 PTP clock Ethernet ports, the 2 10G control ports, plus the 2 redundant power supplies. So let's go back to the front. So as far as features go, you get the 16 ATEM advanced keys, the 4 main DVEs, the 2 SuperSource processors, with each SuperSource having the 4 DVEs, so you get a total of 12 DVEs. You get all the transitions. So let's plug in the power. I'll put it on top of this one. It'll probably make the same noise while it boots up. So it's a very nice switcher. It's funny, the fans run full speed when you first plug it in because it's got no brain until Blackmagic OS boots up. So it's a really nice switcher. It's big enough for really large jobs. It's native SMPTE 2110, so I think it'll be nice. So the ATEM 4ME Constellation IP Plus will be priced at $12,995. We think it should be available after the other 4ME model ships, so it should be about July, I think. So I think this will be very popular with live sports, you know, where you get a lot of things going on, a lot of cameras, a lot of graphics, a lot of replay. So you need to have more inputs into the switcher to handle all that. Okay, so now let's really talk a bit more about these 100G Ethernet ports. Now what's exciting is we can use these ports to add a converter. So let's start with SDI. So what we want to do is we want to convert these 100G Ethernet ports to 12G SDI. So we've created a kind of a breakout box for 12G SDI. You can plug it into the 100G Ethernet ports. It gives you 8 independent 12G SDI inputs and an independent 12G.
I wonder how much the Davinci Resolve free version is driving this seminar. Like they're keeping everybody to stay and add Davinci Resolve as a promoter to drag them to watch all the other hardware stuff.
There it is there, if you can get a bit of a close-up of that. So you can see it uses the same front-to-back cool design. There's also the speaker and the headphone jack for the monitoring. But it's got multiple channels, so you can just scroll the knob to change the channel you're actually monitoring. And then you hold down the speaker button to adjust the volume. There's also the LCD on the front for menus. So let's check out the back. So you can see really how simple it is. So you've got the 8 B and C connectors for the 12G SDI inputs. There's another set of 8 B and C connectors for the 12G SDI outputs. There's also 200G Ethernet connections, and that's for the SMPTE 2022-7 redundancy. And there's also a control Ethernet port for NMOS routing. Plus there's 2 redundant AC power supplies. Like all these products, there's 2 redundant power supplies in them. So let's go back to the front and we'll plug in the power. Stack it on top.
Very nice with the X pattern that they have designed there.
Again, I won't
That
plug in
looks
100G
really
Ethernet
cool,
yet.
the X
It'll take too
pattern.
long if I spend time connecting everything. But one way you can connect is directly to the ATEM switcher. That would convert one of the 100G Ethernet ports to 12G SDI. So it'd be like you could add a breakout box. And it would add a whole set of 8 inputs and 8 outputs to the switcher, which makes this converter very useful. It really, in many ways, it's the main way to convert from 12G SDI gear into 100G SMPTE 2110 gear, all with a single optical fiber cable. So it's a great solution with these new ATEM IP constellation switches, because you can just use it as sort of a breakout box and you can mix and match. So the Blackmagic SDI Expander 8x12G will be available for $2,995. We expect it will be available around June, depending on the parts. But it'll be perfect for connecting these new 100G Ethernet products into 12G SDI systems. Yeah, you can install it in a studio and then just run a single fiber back to an equipment room. You know, I've seen broadcasters doing this with lots of BNC cables all running back to converters in the equipment room, and it's, you know, a mess. It's better to have the converter in the studio itself, and it keeps all the equipment areas uncluttered. Then you only need to run a few simple fibers around your building. Okay, so now let's talk about 10G Ethernet. Now we've got a whole range of 10G Ethernet converters. Even the Blackmagic Studio Camera Pro, which I have one behind me, models have 10G Ethernet. It's a great way to do SMPTE 2110 because it's very low cost. Plus it uses a copper cable, so you can remotely power the cameras and converters with an Ethernet connection. The only limitation is the 10G Ethernet speed, but that only really affects the 2160p60 Ultra HD format. And we have the Blackmagic IP10 codec for that. It's a very simple codec that's an open standard and it works really well. But anyway, how do we connect these 10G Ethernet products into this ATEM switcher? So we have a new product to do that. It's called the Blackmagic Studio Bridge 10G PWR. Let me bring it out and show you. Here it is here. So you can see it's all, you know, it's a familiar design. They all look great mounted in a rack together. I don't know if you get a shot of that, but it looks pretty cool. Now the front panel works the same as the SDI expander, so I won't really go into that. But let's check out the back. Whoops. So there it is there. It's very similar to the SDI expander. It combines 8 separate 10G Ethernet connections into a single 100G Ethernet connection. However, it also bridges into a redundant system, and this is really the big difference with this. Now these 10G converters have a single Ethernet connector. So how do you bridge that into a redundant system? So, you know, that's where you have 2 Ethernet connections between each piece of equipment. That's where this converter comes in. It'll bridge a single link into the 200G Ethernet ports there. So then you get the redundancy. Plus, of course, it combines 8 10G Ethernets into the 100G as well. So now you might notice there's 2 rack units. That's because each, it's got a really powerful power supply in it, and it'll supply 90 watts of PoE power to each one of those 10G Ethernet ports. So you could run 8 separate Blackmagic Studio Camera Pro 6K cameras from this one converter. So it's a lot of power. Anyway, let's go back to the front. We'll plug it in. I'll put it on the stack. The power cable. This is a great way to add 10G Ethernet ports into a 100G Ethernet IP-based system. And connecting it's super easy, but I love the PoE power. I think that's a really nice feature. That's why it's actually got the letters PWR in the name. It stands for power. It's a power, provides power. So I think it'll be very popular. So the Blackmagic Studio Bridge 10G PWR will be priced at $2,495. It should be available around June or July, probably more like July. We'll also be doing some software updates for some of the other products. Now these updates are important. The Blackmagic Studio cameras and our SMPTE 2110 bidirectional SDI converters need new software. That's because the control is actually different over SMPTE 2110. So we need to do an update to support it, to upgrade them from the way we used to do it. And we'll post on social media when that stuff's released, when those updates are available. Okay, so now let's talk about, we've talked about converters, so let's talk about the next step, which is adding SMPTE, I think it's raining. It's adding, what we need to do is add replay to this SMPTE 2110 IP video system. Now we need a solution that's compatible with 100G Ethernet. We need to record camera feeds into the network storage. That's how Davinci Resolve Replay works. It basically reads recorded camera files from a network disk. It even does it while the files are being recorded. So you just mount the network disk and then load the record files into Davinci Bin. Then Davinci lets you scroll along and play all those files. But we need a hyperdeck that connects to 100G Ethernet. Also, we need, because 100G Ethernet handles 8 channels of Ultra HD video, we need a hyperdeck that also records 8 channels. And so we've done that. It's called Hyperdeck ISO Recorder 100G. Let me bring it out and show you. There it is there. So you can see from the front panel, it's a bit different to the other products. That's because it's a broadcast deck, so you need transport controls. So on the front there, we have record, stop, fast forward, rewind, next clip, previous clip, and play. Now you can see it actually also plays. It's not really that important, but it's great for training. So you can feed, multiple streams into a switch or something. We also have on the front a nice search dial on the front panel. In many ways, this recorder is similar to a Hyperdeck Studio, but it's 8 channels. So there's also an LCD for menus. Plus it's got the speaker and headphone socket on the front. That's for monitoring audio. So let's check out the back. There it is there. So you see it's got the 2 connectors for the SMPTE 2110, SMPTE 2022-7 IP video. God, there's so many letters. Now it's the same as all the other products. This is where you connect the 8 channels of video in, but it also has some other ports on the back there. The most interesting of these is the 100G Ethernet ports for the storage. Now this Hyperdeck records ProRes for all the 8 files, and you can't fit more than about 4 streams of ProRes through a 10G Ethernet connection. So we moved to 100G Ethernet for network storage. Now we have a Blackmagic Cloud Store Max that you can connect into here, and it has 100 gigabit Ethernet. But there's 2 ports on there, so you can connect to 2 separate network storage disks. So when one disk fills, it'll move on to the second network storage disk. So that's pretty nice. Now let's look at some of the other ports on there, which are over there. You can see we've got an SDI and a HDMI outputs. Now that's for local monitoring. Often there's a monitor above a recorder, so you can connect it there. Now when you're not playing, the search dial lets you actually swap between monitoring the different channels. So you can scroll up and down all 8 channels, and let you monitor each individual channel, which is really helpful. Now there's some other ports on there. There's 2 separate Ethernet control ports. Remote control is really important on Hyperdecks, and so we've got 2 ports for that. Gives you a bit of flexibility. They're both 10G Ethernet as well. We also have 2 PTP clock ports, and again, there's 2 of those for redundancy. And that's really important if you need more than 8 channels, because you can record on more than one Hyperdeck ISO recorder and keep them all in sync. And that's why reference on Hyperdeck is really important. Now we also have the management port that lets you run a separate network for the admin utilities. Most high-end broadcasters have separate networks. They have like 1 network for the SMPTE 2110 video, or 2 networks, of course, if they're doing redundancy. Then they have a separate network for PTP clocks, plus a separate network for control. So that keeps everything separate, which is why, with the Hyperdeck ISO recorder 100G, that's really easy because you have all these separate ports. So let's go back to the front. There it is there. Now I could connect it with a single, to the ATEM switcher with a single fiber. Then the ATEM outputs would be connected to the Hyperdeck inputs. But let's not do that yet. Let's plug in the power though. Now I'll put this over here so it's not stacked up too high. Get our power cord. There it is there. Now when I record on this, I need some network storage. It records to external network storage. So I can direct connect to one of these 100G Ethernet ports. There's 2 ports, so I can plug in 2 separate network disks, or I could connect it to an Ethernet switch, but direct connection is better. Now we have the Blackmagic Cloud Store Max, which is here. Now it has 100G Ethernet. It's got a 100G Ethernet port, so we could record to that, which I'll do in a moment. In fact, I'll connect everything at the end, so the video is not too long. But anyway, to summarize, the Hyperdeck ISO recorder, it's got a lot of features. It handles both HD and Ultra HD television standards. It does 2160 up to 2160p 60. It's essentially like 8 Hyperdecks in one. Plus, it has the redundancy. It's really easy to use, and records the network storage. So you essentially get unlimited recording duration. I really love this Hyperdeck. So the Hyperdeck ISO Recorder 100G will be priced at $4,995. It should be available around about July, but I think it's going to be fantastic for live replay. However, there is a problem. The Blackmagic Cloud Store Max is not fast enough. It's got a single 100G Ethernet port and 4 10G Ethernet ports, but the 100G Ethernet port is actually tied up, plugged into the Hyperdeck. So that's busy and we can't use that port, which means we have to connect to, to a computer via the 10G port, and that 10G port isn't fast enough. You can only do about 4 streams of ProRes in Ultra HD over a 10G Ethernet port. So it won't handle 8 streams of video, which that's why the Hyperdeck is 100G Ethernet. So we've designed a new model of Blackmagic Cloud Store, and it solves this problem. It's called the Blackmagic Cloud Store Ultra. Let me bring it out and show you. There it is there. I'll put it. Now it's a whole new design. It's dramatically faster than the Cloud Store Max model. It's still got the front to back cooling now. Well, sorry, this still doesn't. It's the new part of the new design family with the front to back cooling, and it's got an LCD for settings. Let's check out the back. But this is where you can really see the difference. It's got 2 separate 100G Ethernet ports. And they're actually on two completely separate networks, which means you can record from the hyperdeck to one port, and then the users can connect to the other 100G port, and both of those ports can access the storage, but they won't interfere with each other. We also actually have the monitoring outputs on there, so it shows the storage status. And on this model, we have SDI and HDMI monitoring for the storage status. We also have a management port for using the Blackmagic Cloud Store utility on a separate network, so you can do remote software updates. And also there's status information in the utility now for the Cloud Store, so you can monitor fan speeds and power supply status. And we also have the two AC power connectors. That's because it's got the redundant power supplies. So let's go back to the back, to the front, sorry. There it is there. We'll get rid of this. Plug it in here. I'll plug some power.
So that they
so
call
it's
it
such an important storage
update,
solution.
not
It's
like
incredibly
announcement.
fast. It's really
just
exciting
an-
new design.
It's just an
And
update.
it's the center of a Davinci Resolve replay system. You know, the hyperdeck will record video into this storage, and then Davinci handles all the playback and the replay. So it's a really important part of the whole system. Now, the new Blackmagic Cloud Store Ultra will be priced at $8,835 for the 24 terabyte model, which is a bit expensive because of the memory prices. Flash memory prices have been psychotic over the last few months. It's possible, in fact, the price could go up even further or it could reduce. It's really hard to know at the moment, but I expect the prices will vary a bit over the next few months. We also have a larger 48 terabyte model. It's called the Blackmagic Cloud Store Ultra 48 terabyte, and it'll be priced at $15,695.
Oh my God.
They should be available sometime around July. I think the new Blackmagic Cloud Store Ultra is a fantastic companion for the Hyperdeck ISO recorder, and it also syncs to Blackmagic Cloud, so it makes it the center of a whole film and television post-production workflow. It's also fantastic on set and a DOT cart, so I think it'll be a really good product. There's only one problem though with this new Blackmagic Cloud Store Ultra, and that you have to copy the media out of it, which can be a problem in some situations. You know, sometimes you need to be able to walk away with the media immediately. You need to be able to walk away with the storage, and you won't really have time to hang around after the job's completed for file copying. So we have a solution for that. It's an upgraded model of the Blackmagic Media Dock. It's actually a massive upgrade. It's called the Blackmagic Media Dock Ultra. Let me bring it out and show you. There it is there. You can see it's similar to the standard model, but it's actually an extra rack unit. That's because it's got better front to back cooling, and you can also see the vents on the top and the bottom there. Now it uses the same media modules as the Assassini camera, but it's got that nice LED ring around the media slots as well. So it's red when writing and it's green when reading. Let's check out the back. So you can see all the connections there. It's actually very similar connections to the Cloud Store Ultra. Plus you can see all the ventilation grill there. Now it's got the two extremely fast 100G Ethernet ports. It's got the SDI and HDMI monitoring output and a management port. And there's a USB port on the back because it actually, the USB doesn't fit on the front, so we put the USB on the back. And that's for firmware updates. And it's got the two redundant AC connections for the two redundant power supplies. So let's connect it to power. I'll put it on the stack here. Line it up.
The stack looks really beautiful. Such a nice design.
There it goes there. If you can get a shot of that, you probably see the media card illuminating, the media slot illuminating when it boots. So I think this will be a great storage solution for replay. It'll be great for broadcast trucks. You know, after a job, you can basically power it on the truck and pull the media module out and just unplug the storage. So the Blackmagic Media Dock Ultra we priced at $2,995. It's incredibly high performance. It's designed for film and television, and it uses these super fast Blackmagic media modules. You know, these are the same media modules we use for recording 17K media from our Assassini 65mm camera, so they've got lots of speed. So now we have a fantastic rack mount dock solution. Okay, so now we're getting close to connecting everything. Now the reason I waited is I wanted to talk about routing. Now we have all this gear for a complete live production system here, but most people connect everything to a router. Then you can just route the the video between the equipment. With SMPTE 2110, we use an Ethernet switch. Now we do already have an Ethernet switch product. It's called the Blackmagic Ethernet Switch 360p. Now, while it's an Ethernet switch for data, it's much more than that. It's really designed to make SMPTE 2110 easy. So it's got a router front panel, so you don't have to do like complex multicast settings and things like that. You just basically route the video around on the panel like a router. It's an Ethernet switch that basically looks like a video router. But that switch only has 200G Ethernet ports. Most of the connections on it are 10G Ethernet. So it makes it great for 10G Ethernet gear, but we really needed a new model for 100G Ethernet. So we've done that. It's called the Blackmagic Ethernet Switch 820. Let me bring it out and show you. There it is there. Now you can see it's a ventilated design with a cooling front to back. it matches the design of the other gear. That's why it doesn't have the P on the in the name, because it doesn't have a router front panel on it. But you can route video on the LCD, so you get basic routing. However, for a 100G Ethernet switch, the front to back cooling is way more important. So let's check out the back. So you can see there. Now this Ethernet switch is quite different. It's actually got a lot more features for SMPTE 2110 IP video. So you can see it's got the 8 separate 100G Ethernet ports, and it also actually has 2 10G ports, and that's quite convenient. Now the big difference with this model is it's got the PTP clock-in ports on the back. There's 2 ports for redundancy. Now this Ethernet switch will distribute PTP clock out to all the connected equipment, which is really important. And there's also a 1G control port, so you can do NMOS routing using that port. And there's also a 1G Ethernet management port, and that's for doing software updates and monitoring the switch. So it's a very professional switch with advanced features for 2110 IP video. It has all the redundant power supplies on the back. So many broadcast racks in data centers have 2 power rails, and they can guarantee at least one of those rails will always stay online. So you kind of need dual AC power connections and redundant AC supplies to handle that, so that as the different power rails come up and down, you can keep it alive. So let's go back to the front. So I'll stack everything and plug it in. So now I've plugged in the power. Let's plug everything in. So we can now build our system, and we'll just connect everything to the switch. Now I have a rack of HyperDecks behind me, and there's a Blackmagic SDI expander connected to all of them, and that'll give me 8 sources of video on a single fiber. So let's connect everything up, and I'll start doing that. Okay, plug that in, plug it into there, and the next cable. Plug.
I wonder if I should add ducking to the stream sound as well, or on my keyboard while I'm playing.
And the next one is the studio bridge. And this one is the HyperDeck.
Let's see if I can do that just for fun. So we need to do OBS.
And now we need to plug the 10G from the switcher across to the HyperDeck so we can control the HyperDeck. Alrighty. Okay, so now I have a rack of HyperDecks connected. I have the ATEM connected. I have the Studio Bridge 10G connected. Now we don't have anything connected to that yet, but I'll get there in a moment. But I have a Blackmagic Studio Camera Pro behind me. So it's got a 10G Ethernet based SMPTE 2110 connection. So I can plug that into this Studio Bridge now. So where is that cable? There it is. So I'll plug that in. You should see that power up. And so that'll fire up. There you go. You can see the camera's powered on. Plus video from the camera is heading down to the Studio Bridge, and where it goes into the Ethernet switch, and then it also have the HyperDeck ISO recorder connected. Actually, I need to connect the storage to the HyperDeck, so let's do that. And I'll connect it to the MediaDock Ultra. Oh, actually, I've already got that connected. There it is. Okay, that's good. I've got that. So now I can record on the HyperDeck. It's kind of hard to reach the HyperDeck from around here, so I can trigger the recording from the utility over here. So I'll show you if we come down to the computer. Back of the, I'm not sure if you can get a shot of this. Plug in there and I'll run that cable down to here. Alrighty, plugged in there. So now I can open a file on the disk, even while the HyperDeck is still recording. So let's do that. So I can come across to the disk. I can get a network here. There's the Media Dock Ultra. It'll connect to it. There's my folder. I can
Testing.
into the file. And there I am. That's a 100G Ethernet connection to the storage, which is pretty nice. So you can have a whole lot of users access to these files. It's a lot of bandwidth. And using the Ethernet switch obviously makes all these connections really easy. You're just connecting everything to the switch, and then you can route the video channels wherever you want. It's essentially just like a video router. An Ethernet switch makes all this 10G Ethernet, 100G Ethernet, sorry.
Speaking while he is speaking. Okay, is this working? Yes, I think it is.
Ethernet switch 820, we priced at 2295. Like all these products, this price excludes any local duties and taxes. But I think it's a very affordable price for an Ethernet switch with these features. Plus all the connections on the rear. That means all the cables are in the back of the rack. And so the front of the rack looks really neat and professional. I think it's amazing to think that this switch is exactly the same as a 64x64 router. And it's all in one rack unit. And it's fully populated with only 8 fiber cables. So that's pretty cool. Let me just go down and turn this recording off. So next I wanted to talk about standards conversion. Now, we almost have a full live production system here, but in television, video standards are often wrong. You know, the ATEM has a standards converter on every input, and that's great because it handles everything. But what happens if you have incoming video feeds that are wrong standard? What do we do about other equipment? So, for example, what do we do if we want to record on the hyperdeck? You know, we want all those record files to be the same video standard. So we kind of need to shield our system from crazy video standards. You know, we need a standards converter with 100G Ethernet. Because 100G Ethernet is 8 channels, we've designed a standards converter that's 8 channels. It's an up-down cross converter that's 8 channels. It's called the Blackmagic up-down cross 100G. So let me bring it out and I'll show it to you. So there it is there.
Testing, testing.
Get a shot of that. I'll just hold that there for a sec. Now it's 8 channels in a single rack unit. So you can
Testing.
video standard separately. It handles all HD and Ultra HD video standards. It's kind of like it also has this sort of high-end, you know, broadcast ventilated.
Testing.
So it's you know, more of a broadcast design. It's got the LCD for menus like the other products have, and that's where you actually set the output standard. You go to the menu and set the output standard. Plus, there's a speaker and a headphone for the audio monitoring, and again, you scroll along the channels with the knob.
How's it sounding now?
At the back, so you can see it's
How's
really
it sounding now?
on the back.
How's it sounding now?
Yeah, we're done on 100G Ethernet connections.
Because
obviously the 100G Ethernet does 8 in and 8 output channels.
Testing.
Need that. You really only need one connector. It also has the 1G Ethernet port for the NOS rating and the 2 redundant power supplies. Anyway, so we'll go back to the front. So it's quite a simple product to use. You just set the output video standard for each channel. Then whenever you route a video into it, it'll be standards converted. It's all automatic. So let's plug in the power. We'll stuck it up here.
But what if I speak now while he's speaking? Let's try to la 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 blah 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 blah.
Oops, I've got a really long cable here. It's getting it. Plug in the power. So there you go. Now I've got 8 standards converters on the Ethernet switch, so I can route incoming video to the up-down cross converter, and then route the up-down cross converter to the hyperdeck. And then the hyperdeck would record in whatever standard we want, whichever we've set. It'd protect the hyperdeck from the wrong video standard. So we can use this up-down cross to protect any equipment. Plus 8 channels of standards conversion in one rack unit is very compact. So I think it'll be very useful. Now the price for the Blackmagic up-down cross 100G will be $2435. That's only about $300 per channel for an Ultra HD standards converter with redundant 100G Ethernet connections. So you only need a single connection to get 8 channels. That's 8 channels in and 8 channels out, all with a single connection. So that's pretty nice. Okay, now with this setup, we really need a SMPTE 2110 based cameras. Well, we need SMPTE 2110 based cameras. Now we have the Blackmagic Studio Camera Pro and it's native SMPTE 2110. But what about a higher end camera? You know, now we have the Blackmagic Cine, and it's an amazing camera. It's got 6.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Range, and it's got a huge advantage.
Sorry about that.
In cinema technology, so we wanted to use.
There we go. That's much better.
Can you imagine how that would look? It would be amazing. So the Cine 12K we think would make an incredible live camera. Now to do that, we've created a software.
Now testing here. Oh,
Camera
this
detects
releases
the connection.
totally.
You can use that for SMPTE 2110 video. 10 live from the menu, and then it transforms into a live production camera. You get digital film quality for live broadcast. It also has the built use 3D LUTs now to dedicated 3D LUT just for the SMPTE 2110 output. But we need a few other things. We need to use B4 broadcast lenses, so we need a B4 broadcast lens mount. That way we get the really fast servos that those lenses have. We also need to control those lenses. Cine is a high-end digital film camera, and it's used by, it uses digital film style connectors. So
Testing.
a lens adapter cable. Plus for live production, we need a studio viewfinder.
Testing.
That, and it connects to the camera's USB viewfinder port on the front. And it actually becomes an extension of the camera itself. It's got a touchscreen, and it's based on the Pixis monitor design, but it's got a larger, brighter 7-inch screen, so you can access all the camera menus from it. So let me bring the camera out now, and I'll show you. I'll bring out the whole camera. So I've got one over here.
Wow.
There it is. So you can see it's all rigged with all the new accessories. Now it's an Ursa Cine. It has the Ursa Cine Studio Viewfinder mounted on top. It's connected to the camera with the USB on the front of the camera. It's powered from the USB, and we also have the B4 lens installed. It's got the B4 lens mount on the front there, and there's the B4 control cable. It even supports the Blackmagic focus and zoom demands. So let's plug in the power. Whoops.
Testing.
There it is there. So you should see it power up.
Testing.
So let's check out the back of the camera if you can get a shot, and we'll plug in the Ethernet. So you can see that there.
Testing.
So I've got an Ethernet cable here somewhere. Here it is. So there's the Ethernet port. If you can get a shot of that.
I don't want it to kill him totally.
And I'll run this cable down and plug it into the studio bridge. There it is. Now it's sending video to the Blackmagic Studio Bridge 10G. So we have pictures going into the ATEM switcher from this camera. So let me show you some of the viewfinder. And if we can cut to the rear of the viewfinder there, if you can see that. So we've got the focus peaking, brightness controls. It's great. Plus it's an extension of the camera menus. So I can go through the menus. It's all integrated in. All the menus. Oops, it's really cool. So it's very exciting. So you can see how really powerful this combination is. It's an amazing live production camera. You get digital film for live production, and with Davinci Resolve primary color corrector built into the camera. So you can live grade in the camera, but you're grading from 16 stops of dynamic range. So it looks amazing. Now, it's basically live cine. So now this software update for the Blackmagic Ursa Cine 12K will be free of charge. And I think it'll be public beta pretty soon. We didn't quite make it, but it won't be very long. Now the Blackmagic Ursa Cine Studio Viewfinder will retail for $1,495. That excludes any local duty. Now the Blackmagic Ursa Cine mount B4, which is the lens mount, will retail for $495. And if you need a lens control cable, that'll retail for $95. And that's the cable that converts the 7-pin external connector on the front of the camera of the Ursa Cine to the 12-pin high-res connector you get on these B4 lenses. So I think this will be a great combination. Now we're also working on a SMPTE fiber solution for Ursa Cine, but that's not ready yet. But I think this camera is going to be amazing for live production. It's a whole new generation in image quality for broadcast. I think it'll be really cool. Okay, so how does this all look when it's mounted on a rack? I have a slide, if the guys can put the slide up, that shows you what it looks like. And you can see how all this gear looks when it's rack mounted. Now, when we designed all these products, we wanted them to look good together. The sort of ventilation sort of flows down the rack from unit to unit. So it kind of has this unified look. However, there's one limitation. It's a little bit barren. The controls on the front of the ATEM were nice to have, and we kind of lost them because we went to the ventilated design. Professional equipment with 100G, then it really needs that front to back cooling. But we have a solution for that. What we've done is we've taken the front panel off the 2ME Constellation 4K and turned it into a video converter. It's actually a SMPTE 2110 IP video converter that converts HDMI to HDMI and 12G SDI. So it has 12G outputs and HDMI outputs. Now it's built into a converter. Basically, it's a converter with a router front panel. sorry, not a router front panel, an ATEM front panel. So it's a combination ATEM front panel and video converter. Now they have separate Ethernet connections, but let me bring it out. It's called the ATEM Monitoring Rack Panel 20. Let me bring it out and show it to you. I'll just get this Sassini out of the way. Here it is here. There you go, if you can get a shot of that. So you can see from the front, it actually looks like an ATEM switcher, but the only electronics are just a video converter. So we don't need really front to back cooling for that because there's not a lot of power. There's not much circuitry inside, so it doesn't generate a lot of heat. Now, if you mount this in the rack, you get an ATEM control panel, which is great when you're setting up advanced or you're doing engineering tests. Let's check out the back. So you can see on the back, you've got the, if you can get a shot of that, you can see you've got the 12G SDI and the HDMI outputs, which is great for connecting to a monitor. There's also two separate 10G Ethernet connections. So there's two ports for redundancy. So this converter has the SMPTE 2022-7 redundancy. You can also see we've got the 1G Ethernet, the control Ethernet connection, and that's for the control panel. So you can connect that to one of the ATEM control ports, and then the front panel will show the switcher control, and the video will come in through the 10G Ethernet and then output on the 12G SDI and the HDMI outputs. But that video will also come up on the LCD on the front. So when it's all running, it actually looks very much like an ATEM switcher. There's also a TalkBack connector on the front panel, and that's embedded in the channels 15 and 16 of the audio, of the video, sorry. And then there's also a black video output on the 10G Ethernet with the TalkBack audio on it. Now you also get the redundant power supplies. So let's go back to the front and we'll connect it up. So there it is there. See? So what we'll do is we'll plug it in. Okay, let's get some power. And we'll get an Ethernet cable, plug it into the studio bridge.
Looks really cool how he connects everything in there. That's really nice.
So you should see program video appear in just a moment on the front panel there, if we can get a close-up of that. Plus you could press buttons on the front panel to control the switcher. I think this is a really useful product. It makes the rack look much more exciting, but it also works with any ATEM switcher, even older models. So that'll be cool. Now this ATEM Monitoring Rack Panel 20 will be priced at $995. So it should be available in a few months. When it's in a rack, it really helps with the setup of jobs, and when you're getting started, you can test things before your control desks are set up. Now we also wanted to design a bigger model. This panel is based on the 4ME Constellation 4K front panel, so it's 2 rack units in size. It's called the ATEM Monitoring Rack Panel 40. Let me bring it out and show you. Here it is here.
Wow, that's massive.
So it looks the same as the ATEM 4ME Constellation. So if you can get a shot there of that. How's that look? So it's got, you can see it's got that big screen. It's also got 40 buttons. But the converter inside is actually the same as the 20 button model. It's exactly the same converter internally. So let me show you the back. So you can see I'll put it on the desk there. So you can see it's the exact same connectors as the other model. It's the same electronics. So you get the 12G SDI and the HDMI monitoring outs. You get the redundant 10G Ethernet and the control port and the redundant AC power. So let's plug it in. It's nicer with a large LCD. I'll put it over on this side. So I'll bring out my power. And I'll bring plug it into the studio bridge here. There, that looks better. Okay, so that'll come up in a moment. So it really adds a lot of excitement to a rack. Now I have a slide showing the rack with all these panels in it, so you can see if they can bring that up. It looks a lot more exciting. So I think this will be a very useful control panel, both of them will. So this ATEM Monitoring Rack Panel 40 we priced at $1,595. Like all the products, this excludes duties, but I think this is a really nice converter and control panel combination. It really spices up the rack. Okay, so now let's talk about future workflows. So I wanted to show you 2 different types of workflows we've been working on. Now this future work isn't quite ready yet, but it helps you understand kind of where we're heading with everything and what we're doing. Now we have all this 100G Ethernet equipment, and it allows 8 channels of Ultra HD, but what else can it do? Yeah, there's a lot more we can do with 100G Ethernet. It's not just about less cabling. What we've really done here is build a foundation. It's something we can build on top of. So the first of these workflows I want to talk about is high frame rates. Now we can do 8 channels of Ultra HD with 100G Ethernet, but we can actually do higher frame rates. We could do 1 channel of Ultra HD at 8 times the frame rate. So that'd be a single channel of 480 frames a second. Or we could do 2 channels at 240 frames a second. Now with IP video, we're really talking about bandwidth, and it makes a lot of things possible. So I think it'd be better to demo kind of what this looks like. So a little while ago, we did some tests with high frame rates. We changed the goal cameras at the local ice hockey finals. And so this job is actually running at Ultra HD at 50p. So all the gear is running at 50 frames a second, but the goal cameras are running at 200 frames a second. And then Davinci Resolve was used to do the replay. So what I want to show is a quick video of what that actually looks like. So if we can play the video. Okay, so you can see this here. So now this is the normal program sort of view, and you can see that there's a goal happening here, so they're doing their thing. And it's a bit of a mess. You can't really quite see what's going on. But then what we'll do is we'll cut to the goal camera, and this is what 200 frames a second looks like. So if you really look to the right-hand side of the frame, you can see them all fumbling around here, and there's a whole lot going on. This is actually Nursicini doing this. So we've got the, it's a bit hard to see, but if you look at the extreme right, just now you can see the puck just slide along. See, it goes into the goal just there. So it's really quite amazing to see what you can really see when you get those nice high frame rates. And there's another shot. Now, if you watch the guy with the puck and the orange on the right, watch what happens to him on the extreme right-hand side of the frame. He kind of hits into the wall. And we just slightly out of frame there. But, of course, there's a fight. It is ice hockey. So it's, what do they say, about that? So here's the same shot from the goal camera. Now, look at his face. If you watch, so he misses, and then check out his face. Look at that. Look at the ice fly up, and look at him go into the wall. It's just awesome to have the main cameras running as high frame rate cameras, and this is only 200 frames a second. So here's another shot of another goal. So again, you see the normal program view here. This is the normal 50p program view, and then we'll cut across to the goal camera, and you'll see this is what it looked like on the high frame rate camera. And you can see it's just so much more clear. You can even see the angle of the puck moving around. It's just the amount of detail that you can see. Even other things looked really good with high frame rate, like just crowd shots look fantastic. Just having every camera potentially be able to do that. Look at the ice fly up in slow motion. It's so cool. And just crowd shots. It's so exciting to see. So that was only, so thanks for that. So that was only 200 frames a second. So it's only 4 times the production frame rate. But you can really see how nice that looked. So we did both 50 frames a second and 200 frames a second from the same camera. That camera was feeding both. So it's not a special high frame rate camera. It's just one of the main cameras. And that's what we do here. We want to make that higher frame rates a normal part of the cameras. So how will we make this work? Well, the first step is we need to get all this into Davinci Resolve. So if Davinci Resolve is doing the replay, then it needs to get the high frame rate media. So we need to record it into the storage. That's why we developed the Hyperdeck, ISO Recorder 100G. So the Hyperdeck hardware is more than just an 8-channel recorder. So we're working on a software update for it, and it'll be a free update, but it'll allow the function of the Hyperdeck to be switched over. So currently it's doing 8 channels of Ultra HD up to 60 frames a second, but this software update will let you change that. So you'll be able to switch it to 2 channels of Ultra HD up to 240 frames a second, or 1 channel of Ultra HD up to 480 frames a second. So then the Hyperdeck will be able to record high frame rate cameras into the cloud store. Now, Davinci's job will be to read those files just like the other camera recordings, and Davinci will show all the cameras in their multi-view. Some of those cameras will be high frame rates, and Davinci will reconcile all those different cameras together and make them look like normal speed cameras. So even when the camera's on air, it'll play at normal speed. But then when you do a slowdown of that particular camera that's high frame rate, it'll be much smoother because it's a high frame rate recording. The slow motion will be really smooth. In our case, at 200 frames a second, we'll be able to go to quarter speed and it still looks good. But then Davinci can create synthetic frames because the motion is slower, the results, even that'll be better. So you could even go below quarter speed. So, you just have so many more frames to work with. And so it'll be amazing. And all this with the same Hyperdeck recording it. You just switch it over. The problem is, of course, it raises another issue, is what about the rest of the equipment? Now, the rest of the equipment only handles Ultra HD up to 60 frames a second. So we actually have to isolate these high frame rate camera feeds from the rest of the equipment. So only the Hyperdeck needs to record those high frame rates directly because we want to record it. But we can't send that to the switcher. It would tie up all the input bandwidth. So it would drastically reduce the number of inputs you can put into the switcher. So what we need to do is down convert those high frame rates. And that's what the new Blackmagic Up-Down Cross 100G does. So it's more than just an 8-channel Ultra HD standards converter. We'll also do a software update for that. So you'll be able to change its function from 8 channels of Ultra HD up to 60 frames a second, or it could run 2 channels of Ultra HD up to 240 frames a second, or 1 channel of Ultra HD up to 480 frames a second. And it'll down convert those high frames to normal frame rates. That's why it's connected to the Ethernet switch. So you could route the high frame rates into the hyperdeck through the switch and then into the up-down cross converter. And then the hyperdeck will record the high frame rates, but the up-down cross converter would then be used to down convert to the other gear. So the ATEM switcher and the monitors and all the other gear would use the down converted output, and you could just route that all through the switcher. So you really kind of have two different frame rates all running at the same time, all using the same gear at no extra cost, which means you can change the, between different jobs, different frame rates. And particularly you could use high frame rates on jobs you didn't expect to use it on, like those crowd shots. The more free you are to try these things, the more creative you can be. So I think it'll be very exciting. So it'll be cool. Okay, so then of course, what do we do about a camera to feed all this? So we actually need a high frame rate camera. So we've also done that. We've got a new camera designed just for this, but we went one better. What we've done is we've redesigned the Blackmagic Ursa Cine to allow high frame rate SMPTE 2110 output. It's a faster design. It's got the network port is now much faster, 100G Ethernet. So let me bring it out and show you. I've got one down here. Actually, I've got to slide this out of the way. Give myself some space here. And here it is. I'll bring it over. So it's also, you see I've rigged it up with all the new accessories. Now it's a similar, I'll have it here. Now it's similar to the 10G model, but there's been some changes. Let's have a look at the back here. Sorry, I'll just bring it across here so you can get a shot into the back there. So you can see there, so you can see it's got the 100G port. Otherwise, it's very similar to the standard Ursa Cine 12K. But with this high speed 100G Ethernet, it can output higher frame rates. So when you're running with a B4 lens mount, we can crop that 12K sensor, which means we can run even higher frame rates than a normal Ursa Cine. So this Ursa Cine 12K will, with 100G, sorry, the Ursa Cine 12K 100G can run up to 440 frames a second. And this shows you really how amazing 100G Ethernet is. So adding this camera lets us do some really cinema quality high frame rate SMPTE 2110 video. All of this with 16 stops dynamic range. Of course, you get the studio viewfinder and the B4 lens mount compatibility. So let me plug in the power, wherever that is. Oh, here it is. There it is, and now I'll have, I'll plug in 100G as well. Oops, the wrong way around. There it is there. And I'll just plug it into the Ethernet switch. That is there. And so now I've got pictures running into my production system over here. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how this goes. Oops, the power's off. All the power switches. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. I don't know if you can get a shot of that there. There it is. So you can see where it is. So I think it'll be interesting to see how this camera is used in live production and how high frame rate stuff is used. So the cost of this Blackmagic Ursa Cine 12K LF 100G will be from $8,995. So that's the price of the body only model, but you can also buy it in a kit with a media module and some accessories. So this is an exciting camera. It'll ship in a few months. We'll do the kind of high frame rate work with the other products before we ship it. And we'll need to update the hyperdeck and the up-down cross 100G for this all to work. So we'll keep working on all this as fast as we can. But it does raise another problem. The Blackmagic Ursa Cine 12K 100G has a single Ethernet port. It's got a single 100G Ethernet port. And like we saw with the Blackmagic Studio camera, which also has a single Ethernet port. So for that camera, we have the Blackmagic Studio Bridge 10G. So we really need a 100G model of a Studio Bridge. So we can connect the single 100G port into a redundant SMPTE 2022-7 system. So I've done that, and it's called the Blackmagic Studio Bridge 100G. Let me just move this out of the way a little. So here it is here. There it is there. So we can get in close to that. There you go, cool. So this will combine two cameras into 100G Ethernet bandwidth, which is helpful if you're running like less than 240 frames on the cameras. So each camera would be running less than, I'll put it down there. So each camera would be running less than 50 gigabit. So then you can sort of combine both of those cameras into the redundant IP video system. Now it's one rack unit because it doesn't need to power cameras or anything, it's all optical. So it doesn't need all those big power supplies. So I think this is an important part of the high frame rate story. You still get redundancy for these high frame rate 100G cameras, so that'll be cool. I'll put it on the stack. Getting quite a pile here. So the Blackmagic Studio Bridge 100G will be priced at $2,495. So we'll ship it when we release this whole high frame rate workflow. Okay, so now let's talk about another future workflow, and that's for immersive production. Now there's new products like the Apple Vision Pro have been released, and they're like a complete revolution in entertainment. It's a whole new way of experiencing media. And for our industry, it's a whole chunk of new business. So it's very exciting. Now we've been working on this for quite a long time. We released the original Blackmagic Cine immersive camera. It's been used on a lot of shoots, and it's helped create a lot of content, but live production would be amazing. If we could make this immersive experience live, it would completely transform entertainment. You're not just watching an event, you're literally part of the event. So how do we do that? Well, we need a camera, but first, how does all this equipment help? So again, we want to share some of the thoughts on immersive live production and how we've been kind of thinking about this. And when we designed this gear, we were actually thinking about immersive support. So the first thing we need to do is we want to use the Hyperdeck ISO Recorder 100G. So we'll have a software update to allow immersive recording. It'll be a free update. And this is how the Hyperdeck will add more recording standards over time. It'll get more powerful over time. And then, again, all this is made possible because of the 100G Ethernet connection. So okay, when we're designing hardware for immersive content, we kind of have to standardize the resolution. There's too much data to really use computers to solve some of these problems. So we need to build a live production system with a lot of cameras, and it's quite a complex problem, but it makes it an exciting challenge. The Apple Vision Pro has incredibly high resolution per eye. So you need 8K square per eye at 90 frames a second, so that's not 16 by 9 8K, which is 8K by 4K, or specifically 16 by 9 8K would actually be a resolution of 7680 by 4320. It's not that. The Apple Vision Pro is actually square. It's a square display per eye. So we need to capture almost twice the vertical resolution that we normally do. But we're also working at 90 frames a second, which would be much more data rate compared to per eye compared to 8K. And then we're running a third higher frame rate. And then there's two sets of those eyes because they're stereo. So for live, we're currently working at 8K by 8K at 90 frames a second in stereo, which is an insane amount of data. So the most obvious question is, how do we replay that? So that's sort of the first part of this workflow. So in a normal 2D replay, which I talked about before, Davinci Resolve plays all the cameras at the same time. A modern computer can handle that. It's Ultra HD, and you can play and you can scroll all the camera recordings off the storage. But immersive is actually a different problem. Handling one full resolution immersive stream is hard enough for a computer. There's just too much data. So the Hyperdeck will also record a HD proxy. And then Davinci can actually play all the proxies in a multi-view, and it'll only play the on-air camera in full immersive resolution when it's on air. Of course, this is what we hope to do. We're still working on it. But from our tests, we think the computers are fast enough to be able to play a full resolution immersive channel and handle the proxies and for the replay. So that's how we'll do that. Now, of course, the Hyperdeck will get the live immersive video into the storage, and Davinci Resolve will be able to read that for replay. But how does Davinci Resolve play back that immersive content? This is where the DeckLink IP100 capture card is used. Now, for normal replay, we can just use an Ultra HD DeckLink card, but now we need to play back immersive video. So we've been working on a software update for the DeckLink IP100 that'll let it play back a full immersive stream. And all this is to build an immersive replay solution, but that's again only part of the changes required for immersive. There's a lot more data. It's not like anything that's been done before, so it's pretty cool. So that's kind of a bit of an outline of how some of these products will change. But now let's talk about the camera. Now that's been the hard part. Getting a camera to work at these high data rates has been really tricky. But to feel really realistic, it should be a digital film camera. And then we'll have the quality we need to reduce imaging artifacts. Now you want the immersive view to be as close to reality as possible. So what we've done is we've based the new immersive camera on the Cine Immersive. It's a new model. It has 100G Ethernet. It's called the Blackmagic Cine Immersive 100G. Let me bring it out and show you. I'll just move this out of the way. So we'll get that up there, and we'll bring it out. I've got it over here. Here it is. So you can see it looks similar to the standard model. However, the design has been upgraded with much higher performance. You can see on the back it's got the 100G Ethernet connector there. Actually, if you can look at the side, you can see we've repositioned some of the controls because we've got to have cooling that goes up through, so you can see the controls have moved down there. Same thing with the 12G, 100G. So you can see the connector there. As you can guess, the immersive requires a lot more data. It's actually way more data than 100G Ethernet can handle. So we have a second part of the solution. It's called the Blackmagic Cine live encoder. So let me show you. Here it is here. So what it is, it's a, if I get it out of the container, it's a processor module that plugs into the media slot. It's basically a ProRes encoder. It can compress the live immersive data on about 46 gigabits a second, and that easily fits into the 100G Ethernet. In fact, it also means we could get two cameras into a single 100G Ethernet link. That's why the Blackmagic Studio Bridge has two camera ports. It'll combine two of these live immersive cameras into the one redundant set. Anyway, so let's load this encoder into the camera here. You can see a view of that. Just clips in like that. And then we can plug in the power. There it is there. Now the camera has been powered on. Let's plug in the Ethernet. Now what I have is, I've got a DECLink 100 IP card down in the computer down there, and it's installed in a Thunderbolt chassis, so I can actually show you it working. So let me plug the 100G into that Mac down there. So I'll just grab this cable. We'll go all the way down here if you can follow me down. Of course, the camera cable's tangled up. Which seems to be the biggest innovation of optical fiber guys, is how to make the cables tangle. Right, here we go. It's all good. So let me plug it into the DECLink 100G. The other way around. There it is there. Okay, so now we can go to the Mac, and we have a test app we have created. It'll capture and decode the live immersive video. So let me bring out, if we can cut across to the screen over here. Actually, I forgot to swing the camera. Let me go back and swing the camera around. So I'll point it at the set so it looks a bit more interesting. So that should look pretty cool. So let's go back down. So I'll quit this Hyperdeck app, close that. Here we go. See that? There it is. So you can see the latency is quite low. It's such a wide picture view. That looks cool. You can see the lights. So this is just a basic switcher app, but you can see how it works. So the idea is that all these products will build into an immersive workflow. So we have the camera, we have the converters, the Hyperdeck, but the ATEM constellation, let me just come back down this way. But the ATEM constellation won't handle immersive. Oops. Move that down a bit. So the ATEM constellation switcher won't handle immersive, so I'll get to that in a moment. However, the images from this camera are amazing. And they're all live, going through this cable, live immersive. You know, it's like you're being transported to another location. It's really amazing to watch. Now, the price of the Blackmagic Cine Immersive 100G will be $26,495. That includes the 8 terabyte media module, which raises the price a bit. However, we might include a body-only model that excludes that, because it'll save a bit of money. We can look at that once this whole live immersive workflow is shipping. So the price of the Blackmagic Cine live encoder, that module will be $1,495. And of course, it's excluding duties and taxes. So we think this will be an amazing combination. Now, we've actually been quietly shipping the Cine Immersive 100G for about 6 months or so. There's been productions done with it. However, we wanted to sort of wait until the whole workflow was complete before we ship it. So that's why the DECLink IP100G was delayed in shipping a bit, because we were actually busy adding immersive and beta testing all this stuff using the DECLink IP100G card. Anyway, so moving on. So this workflow can be all updated, like all these products can be updated to support immersive, apart from the ATEM switcher. The ATEM 4MA Constellation IP switches are for Ultra HD only. That's great because, you know, they're familiar, but we actually need something at another level to handle immersive. So I want to show you something we've been working on. It's a whole new type of ATEM switcher. It's actually a full 3D switcher. It's actually two switches in one. It's kind of the left and right eyes. So it'll be able to do like regular Ultra HD 3D, but it's got enough power for immersive. Now it's called the ATEM Solaris i64. Let me show it to you. If we can get a close up over to my right, it's behind me on the bench over here. So I'll just take the cover off so I can show you. There it is. So you can see it's quite a lot bigger than the normal switches. That's because it's a very large switcher. It supports 64 immersive live cameras. And that means it's got a lot of electronics. It's got a lot of 100G Ethernet connections on the back. But you can see it's a similar ventilated front to back design. However, it's actually deeper than the other switches. And you can unscrew the front panels on this to get access to the cooling fans. And you can also get access to the internal boards. The whole inside is a machine chassis that holds all the electronics together. So let's check out the back, and it's on a swivel, so I can just rotate it around. So there it is there. So you can see, so let's discuss here kind of what is on the back here. So there are actually 32 input connectors with 2 cameras per 100G Ethernet port. So that means that each input connector has actually 2 ProRes decoders behind it to handle the 2 cameras. So it gives you 64 inputs in total. That's across the whole switcher, which is why the Blackmagic Studio Bridge 100G can combine the 2 cameras together, because we want to be able to then use a single Ethernet port. Now each horizontal set of connectors is a separate input board, and so each input is also a redundant pair, like you can see there. But there's also ProRes encoders on the boards for the outputs. So across the whole switch, you get 16 ProRes encoded immersive outputs. But you can also route inputs back to outputs. But it means you get 16 main outputs, which are like 16 clean switch outputs. Now, the reason we've been working on such a large switcher is because that's the work that needs to be done. The first immersive live production is very large events. And so we needed to kind of build a bigger model first. So looking down the bottom here, you can see there's some other ports, and now we have the redundant 10G control ports. We also have redundant PTB clock ports, plus the management Ethernet port. Now we have a bit different on the power supplies. We've got these removable power supplies. There's 4 of them because we have quad redundancy on this model. So any one power supply can run the entire switcher, but if you plug in more than one power supply, they'll share the load, which means the fan speeds will reduce and it'll be quieter. We're still worried about fan noise, even on this large switcher. I can show you the power supplies, how they come out. So they just unplug like that. So, and like I was saying, any one power supply will run the whole switcher. Now this switcher will also work in regular 2D, Ultra HD. We think it'll be about 200 inputs, maybe more, when it's running in Ultra HD. So you'll be able to do regular work as well as immersive work. Now we have DVs on the inputs, and so the idea is that we think you'll be able to bring in 2D source into sort of a 3D space, but there's a lot more work to work on that. So while the switcher is not finished, we kind of wanted to show you, and then you can understand kind of where we're heading with this and really how serious we are about this live immersive workflow. So it should be very exciting. Now, I'll swing it back around. So we think this ATEM Solaris i64 will be priced about $110,000, which isn't cheap. However, we're working on half and quarter size models that'll be much cheaper. Like the half size model, which will be called the ATEM Solaris i32, will be about $50,000. However, the prices are a bit volatile at the moment because of all these crazy memory prices. We'll probably know closer to when they ship. But what's important is beta testing it with customers and then working out the exact features as we do more work. It's quite a flexible design, so we'll be able to change things as we go, as we beta test it. Okay, so well, the next problem we have to solve is audio. With immersive workflows, the audio has to be a lot better. You know, simple 2-channel stereo isn't really enough. We need surround sound audio as a minimum, or even immersive audio. Working with surround sound and immersive audio is very complex. You need hundreds of audio channels. We need complex busing and effects. There's just no way the internal audio mixer and the ATEM switches will be able to do that. So we started thinking about what we could do. We needed a new broadcast audio solution, and it has to specifically handle broadcast workflows. Now, simple audio mixers can't do that. But then we need to do, kind of go well beyond broadcast as well. We need something that supports native SMPTE 2110 sort of based audio, as part of that whole workflow. So we want something modern that's not stuck in the past, and we need to be able to handle surround sound and spatial audio. So we've done that. It's called Fairlight Live. It's unbelievably powerful. And when you look at the features, Fairlight Live is probably the world's most powerful audio mixer. Now, unlike traditional audio mixers, Fairlight Live is a software-based mixer. That means there's no limit to really what it can do. That's how it easily handles spatial audio mixing and SMPTE 2110 broadcast workflows. And it even supports full redundancy. So Fairlight Live handles hundreds or even thousands of audio channels. It really only depends on your computer. Now, it works with standard computer audio, but it'll also work with USB audio devices. It's fully customizable. And you get loads of built-in effects, plus you get lots of broadcast features. such as like a Q player, talkback buses, third-party plugin support, snapshots, and heaps more. It's very exciting. So let me go over to the computer and I can show you. So if you can sort of track down, come down here if you can get a shot of the computer. So let me bring it up. It's down here. There you go, there it is, running. Now, I won't demo this myself because it'll be too slow, but we have a video that shows the features in Fairlight Live, and it's been prepared by Mary in our Burbank office. So let's play the video and you can check it out how it works.
Welcome to Fairlight Live, a powerful, full-featured, software-based live audio mixer. Fairlight Live supports hundreds of tracks, standard formats from stereo and surround sound to immersive and spatial audio workflows. It scales to your project needs, from a simple audio podcast to a multicam talk show or a complex live broadcast sports event. Fairlight Live is loaded with broadcast features, plus a flexible busing architecture designed for 2110 modern IP workflows and ATEM switchers. Let's take a closer look. When you first launch this software, go to the File menu to open an existing show or create a new show. Here, you'll have the option to create a new show from a factory template, user template, or create a custom show configuration to match the number of inputs and buses for your show. I'll create a setup for a basic audio-only podcast with 2 inputs for the host and guest microphones and 1 stereo bus for the main output. You can name the inputs and buses right in the mixer. Use the Preferences window to quickly set up your mics or the audio input-output device connected to your system. If you're just starting out, these could be a built-in microphone, smartphone, AirPods, or a USB audio interface. You can also use the Audio MIDI setup utility on a Mac or other third-party software to combine multiple audio sources as a multi-channel input. For this example, both mics are connected to a USB device. At the top of the mixer, click the Input field to route a channel input, and right-click the number at the top of a channel to add another input. In this case, I'll add 1 more input for music and assign it to the Q player. Open the handy patching matrix to quickly see how your inputs and outputs are patched and make changes if needed. The Q player is now connected to the left and right channels of the music input. The Fairlight Live Q Player lets you set up 16 audio cues for music or sound effects that can be triggered instantly with a click or keyboard shortcut. Click the Load File button to select and load an audio file on your system. Click the Play button on a cue to start playback, and Dump to instantly stop playing all cues. There are also 16 MIDI cues that can be used to trigger hardware-controlled devices like lighting or fog machines. Once your show is set up and ready for the talent, you can save it as a template to use again for the next episode. When you're working on larger shows, you need to be able to create a customized busing structure with flexible signal paths. You can use the Bus Management window to add main, sub, aux, and mix-minus buses. Choose their name, format, and color. Main buses manage final output mixes for broadcast or streaming. Sub-buses act as direct patches from assigned inputs like hosts, sound effects, or music to create submixes of related channels. Quickly assign inputs to buses or buses to buses in the mixer. Hold the Option-Alt key to assign a bus to all selected channels. Aux buses provide independent level and pan control with adjustable pre- or post-fader switching. They can also host group effects processing and create custom mixes for talent while the main program mix remains untouched. Dedicated mix-minus buses deliver talkback feeds with independent level and pan control and pre- or post-fader routing. That means in a live broadcast, the commentators can hear the program mix or other commentators minus their own mic to prevent feedback. Other advanced busing options are output matrix buses and VCA masters. Output matrix buses are for distributing unique mixes to multiple destinations, like stage monitors, translation feeds, or recording devices without affecting the main program mix. VCA masters can control the relative volume of a group of channels and buses at once with a single fader to streamline your mixes. Click the VCA field in a mixer channel to assign a VCA group. When a VCA group is assigned, a VCA master fader appears in the mixer. You can name VCAs in the Tracks Index. This interactive list offers quick access to all of your show's channels and buses. Here, you can name, rearrange, and modify channels. If you're working with large numbers of inputs and buses, the Tracks Index also offers mixer and monitoring panel visibility controls to hide or show channels and buses without affecting their sound. To help you visualize and manage your busing architecture, Fairlight Live offers a variety of designated floating windows conveniently located in the window menu. Here you'll find the bus assign window for quick changes or an overview of the buses and their assignments in either icon or list view. There's also a VCA assign window to modify or see your VCA assignments at a glance. For a more focused view of the channels contributing to a bus, there is the Bus Contributors window, which shows a visual layout of any selected bus. Fairlight Live has a complete set of integrated broadcast features for live production. To communicate with your talent and crew, you'll find 4 talkback groups that can be quickly set up in the master controls area and mixer. Use the talkback mic settings dialog to adjust input, high-pass filter, compression, and level. Manage talkback groups using Q conference mode and route mix-minus buses to deliver clean feeds to remote guests in the input settings dialog. Additionally, each channel offers input delay using samples, frames, or milliseconds, which aligns signals for timing accuracy and remote gain for mic preamps adjustment at the source. Fairlight Live is designed for SMPTE 2110 workflows and provides full IP-based broadcast production. This includes seamless connection to 2110 networks, allowing engineers to extract specific audio streams from any source, plus PTP clock synchronization, sample level delay compensation, and more. Designed to integrate with ATEM Live production switchers, Fairlight Live connects via USB-C for direct control and audio exchange. Create an ATEM show from scratch, or use an ATEM preset for instant routing and bidirectional control for supported ATEM switchers. Supported ATEM models include default mixer settings and templates, with inputs to match the ATEM model, along with full on-air status control. Here you can see the inputs and outputs on the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO G2, and these are the matching inputs in the Fairlight Live mixer, already patched and ready to go. Fairlight Live supports audio follows video camera selection for up to 100 cameras, routing audio from the switcher into the mixer for processing and mixing before returning it to the program output. You can manage talkback and solo monitoring with bidirectional microphone gain control, ensuring consistent levels between systems. You can set fade curves and hold times for smooth natural transitions. AFV can be driven directly from an ATEM switcher via the active camera selection, keeping audio aligned with the video at all times. When it comes to plugins and essential processing, Fairlight Live includes a full set of built-in effects. Each input or bus features a 6-band EQ, dynamics processing, and panner for detailed control over tone and dynamics. Fairlight Live also has an extensive library of 30 native plugins covering de-essers, reverb, delay, and more. Third-party audio unit and VST plugins are also supported. The Chain Effects plugin can expand 4 effect slots to 24 plugins. There's even a new auto mix processor. Built-in signal generators provide you with a complete set of tools for system testing, calibration, and troubleshooting. Use the generator settings dialog to enable and adjust levels and settings for the oscillator, tones, and noise generator with options for white or pink noise. There's also a media player for playing a folder of audio files like a pre-show music playlist. And finally, a slate with independent controls to trigger any of these sources. The patching matrix dialog routes each generator source to any channel, bus, or output for system checks and alignment without external hardware. Fairlight Live has extensive keyboard customization, so you can tailor shortcuts to work faster without having to stop and click through menus. You can trigger key functions such as cue player control, player recorder, routing changes, and system setups instantly. Capture your live performance in rehearsal using Fairlight Live's built-in record and playback system. Use the easy access buttons anytime in the master controls area, or open the floating player and recorder window for familiar transport controls. Open the show settings window for virtual soundcheck settings specific to your current show, such as the option for time of day timecode and starting locator 1 at record start. The show settings window also includes specific controls for audio engineers to set frame rate, solo modes, and levels. Switch between listening to an input before fader adjustments to confirm it's set at a good level, or after fader adjustments to hear how it will sound in the mix. Fairlight Live has pre-fader listen and after fader listen solo monitoring, so you can listen and audition individual channels or buses without affecting the main mix. The PFL plus AFL option puts 2 solo buttons on each mixer channel, so you can switch between those 2 listening options. There's also a set of solo options for a dedicated pre-fader backstop mode, which keeps a consistent reference so the listening level doesn't jump suddenly when channels are soloed. Snapshots let you save and recall the entire mixer state, providing a powerful tool for show setup and real-time control. Fairlight Live snapshots can be sequenced between different segments, such as a broadcast commentary, halftime performances, or musical acts. In this podcast example, there are 2 snapshots, and you can see in the mixer that the remote guest input is muted with the fader down. You can load the next snapshot by clicking the button on the snapshot window, using a keyboard shortcut, or pressing the snapshot button on the Fairlight Live console. Use the global recall controls to determine which channels and buses are recalled and updated when a snapshot is recalled. Isolated channels will not be changed. Recall speed controls the rate of the automation between snapshots to create a smooth transition. Multiple Fairlight Live stations can work together on the same show for redundancy, prep, and distributed workflows. The primary mode operates the full-featured system, providing complete control of all inputs and outputs within the mixer. Failsafe mode uses a secondary system that mirrors the primary, ready to step in if a failure occurs. Prep mode allows you to build and test shows offline without affecting the live system. In addition to primary and backup engines, Fairlight Live lets you control the mix from separate computers, extending operation beyond a single system. Remote mode supports multiple operators on separate computers. You can hand off a section of the mix from the primary to a remote operator, who updates only the assigned channels or parameters in real time. The system supports 2 simultaneous remote control machines with sync status indicators and dedicated talkback for coordination. Fairlight Live has a secure on-air mode, which locks out other users to prevent accidental changes to the main audio outputs during live productions. On-air mode also synchronizes the on-air status with an ATEM switcher, ensuring the mixer accurately reflects your program status. If you are used to mixing with a tablet or other mixing surface, Fairlight Live also supports third-party control surfaces and tablet apps. You can add mixing control to Fairlight Live using Mackie MCU controllers and OSC-based iPad or tablet control. I hope this gives you an idea of some of the powerful features in Fairlight Live and what it can do. For more information, go to blackmagicdesign.com. Thank you for watching.
So you can see how powerful Fairlight Live is. You know, it's been designed for modern SMPTE 2110 workflows. I'll come back down this way. So, you know, we need to connect to these SMPTE 2110 systems. So like all the new equipment we've been working on, we have an adapter for that. It's called the Fairlight Live 2110 IP audio adapter. It's a small converter that can be rack mounted. It'll be available later in the year. But however, what's the most exciting part of this though, is the ATEM switches. So I've also been working on updates for all the ATEM switches. That's because all the audio currently is going into the ATEM switcher. So it has everything at the moment, including TalkBack. So adding USB audio to the ATEM switches would let us get to that audio. Now the update we've been working on will work on most ATEM models that have the webcam support. So the software update will let you switch the USB from webcam to USB audio, and then you get multi-channel audio from all the inputs of the ATEM through the USB. And then Fairlight Live can see those inputs and it can get all the audio. Then Fairlight Live can push the audio back into the ATEM switcher where it overrides the internal audio mixer. So you can use the Fairlight Live to take over the audio mixing. Now we don't have all the switches supported yet. We're kind of working on this, but we have support for the 1 and 2 ME ATEM Constellation 4K models. It's also supported on the ATEM Television Studio HD and 4K models. Plus it's supported on the ATEM Mini Pro and the ATEM Mini Extreme models. And we'll be adding more models over the next few weeks. So you get a number of different audio channels depending on the ATEM model in what the hardware can do. On some models, you can even route the audio. And Fairlight does that. Fairlight Live can take control of the internal ATEM audio routing. The audio engineer can then just basically get any audio they need from the switcher. They can also access the channels 15 and 16 for the TalkBack. Fairlight Live has TalkBack buses, so you can manage complex TalkBack with it. Like on ATEM Constellation 4K switches, you could embed different audio into different SDI outputs. So you could send different SDI outputs to different cameras and you could have isolated TalkBack buses, which would be really cool. And they'd have different audio sources. And you can essentially create mixes for those TalkBack buses. Plus, because Fairlight Live talks to the ATEM switcher, it can also do audio follow video, but it's not locked to just specific inputs. You can actually do complex mixes based on the ATEM input that's on air. So it's going to be a really nice update. So Fairlight Live is going to be a big update for ATEM users. And so I think it'll be really exciting. I mean, I can't wait to see what people do with it. Now, Fairlight Live will be available to download today free of charge. There's no in-app purchases or anything like that. We just want all our ATEM customers to have it, kind of as a thank you for buying the switcher. We really want people to be able to use Fairlight Live, and it's so much more powerful than the built-in audio mixer. Actually, I think it's more powerful than any audio mixer. And when you play with it, you realise it doesn't feel like a kind of version 1 software update. It's got so many features, it feels more like a version 10. But the best news, it'll be available today as the public beta. So I think it'll be really exciting to download and try it and see what it's like. Plus, we'll have software updates for the ATEM switches, which will also be free of charge. We're going to go public beta with those today. So you'll be able to download the software and get USB audio from your switcher. Then you can try Fairlight Live, and I really can't wait to see what people do with with it once they start working with it. But there's, again, of course, only so far you can go with a software audio mixer. You need faders and a control surface, so we've done that. It's called Fairlight Live Audio Panel 10. It's basically an audio panel with 10 flying faders. Let me bring it out and show you. It's over here. There it is. So you can see the design is really dominated by this large LCD here. It's an 11.5-inch LCD, which means you get 10 inches along the bottom there. So it's an inch spacing between the channel strips, which is a really nice balance between density and having enough space around to control the knobs and things. Let me show you the back. So you can see there. So what we've done here is we've built a video converter into the panel. It's a broadcast panel, so you need broadcast monitoring. So we have 2 redundant 10G Ethernet ports for 2110 IP video, and then the video is converted out to a HDMI output, so you can plug in a monitor. There's also 2 balanced XLR line outputs, which means you can plug in some local powered speakers. And plus, because it's a video converter, we can also add TalkBack. But it's also an audio panel, so we've got 2 different types of headsets. So you can plug in a 5-pin XLR headset, like a TalkBack headset, or you can connect separate microphone and headphone connections. There's also an Ethernet control connector. Now that's the audio panel's main control connector, and that plugs into the computer that's running Fairlight Live, so you can talk to the panel. But there's also USB-C on the back panel, and it's an alternative connection, which actually we'll use today. It lets you plug directly into the Fairlight Live computer and makes the setup really simple. Plus also the USB outputs power, so you can keep the computer charged. And lastly, you can see there's an AC input on the back. Plus, we have a broadcast 12-volt DC power connection for like a backup power supply, which is convenient having all this converter built into the panel. It basically eliminates all the complexity around your work area. But anyway, let's plug in the Fairlight Live panel and show how it works. So I'll swing it back around. So there it is there. So let me put some power. Whoops. And I'll plug in USB. So I've just got a USB connection down to the Fairlight Live computer. And just there, if you can get in on the, there it is, it's all connected up. So that's actually connected down there. So if you can get in on the LCD there, I can show you kind of some of the functionality, if you can get in sort of close on that. So you can see we have all the audio faders along here. Now if you look down at the channel strips down here, we've got knobs, and we've got the flying fader, and we've got the select and the solo and the mute buttons, but these knobs are represented by the displays along the bottom here, and you can see the channels. And so when we go into, say, a function like EQ, you can see what we get on the LCD is we get these buttons along the top are represented here, and these knobs on the deck here are represented across here. So I can adjust the EQ, and these controls, I'm not sure if you can get in there and see that, but these controls are adjusting that. And of course I've got compressor, so you can see they change. So I can now change, you can see the gain, negative gain coming in. So it's pretty cool. So that's the controls there, and of course the buttons. And you can page across as well. Then I can come down to like, it's got 3D panning, you know. Oh, also one thing that's worth noting is that when you have any of these displays up, when I'm just on the main channel controls, I've got it full height of the screen, but when I go into any of these screens, it shrinks the entire channel display down to here. So I use the top part of the screen for the specific function I'm in, but I still have an overview of what's going on down the bottom, including even the pan. So you can still see the pan control there. So if I go down into pan, I've got 3D panning. So you can see forward and back. You can see it actually zooming in, coming forward and back. So I can move around in 3D space. It's awesome. And then I can, I've got all kinds of things. I can go back to the home menu. I've got different layers, so I can move between different layers. I've got all the functionality that Mary just talked about in Fairlight Live is actually represented in these sections here. So it's really cool. And I can also do other things, like I can see the masters along the top by pushing this button, or I can go and see an overview of all the audio on the panel. So that's really cool. So it's exciting. So we think it's an incredibly premium panel. I've just done a quick overview here, but we really wanted something that matched Fairlight Live's features and its elegance, Plus we didn't, you can use simple third-party panels. They work with Fairlight Live, but we wanted something much better, something less sort of generic, and a design with really the features that take advantage of Fairlight Live. But I just love this big LCD. It makes it so easy to use. It's like its character comes through on the screen. So this new Fairlight Live Audio Panel 10 will be priced at $2,195. We think it'll ship around July. However, that's not all we've done. We've also done a 20 fader panel. And this model's called the Fairlight Live Audio Panel 20. It's exactly the same design as the 10 fader panel, but it's double the width. Let me bring it out and show you. It's over here. It's quite a lot bigger. There it is there. So as you can see, it's got two LCDs. The back's the same, but with one difference actually. This one has two AC power supplies built in for redundancy. So it looks so nice. When the panel gets wider, it actually kind of looks sort of more professional. It's really quite cool. So this model, the Fairlight Live Audio Panel 20, will be priced at $3,495. It's still very affordable for this many broadcast features. However, I've also done a third model. This one's even bigger. It's got 40 faders. It's called the Fairlight Live Audio Panel 40. So let me bring this model out and show you. Now, it's actually too large for me to lift, so I'll get the guys to bring it out. Can you guys bring this out? And we've got to slide up so you'll be able to sneak in and do it. So this one is very wide. Looks insane, actually. Oh, cool. That looks great. There it is. So if we bring over here, in fact, I'll so you can see it's quite wide. It's means it can do very complex jobs. I'll plug in the power. The power's already in, and I'll plug in the USB. We'll see it come up. So it means this one can do very complex jobs. We really need a panel this big to keep up with the features in Fairlight Live. Plus larger broadcasters, you see that's come up. larger broadcasters do very complex work, and so they'll need a panel that really supports that. You also notice the controls have been moved into the center, so you don't need to reach too far across for the side, for the controls on the side. So you can see I can, I've got the layers. You know, I can bring up EQ, I can do the meters, so it's very cool. So this is all running off a simple laptop, which I'll show you. This is actually shows you really what Fairlight Live can do. So there it is there, see that? Now that's a MacBook Neo and it's running Fairlight Live. This is the whole 40 fader panel. It's a $600 laptop, but it's doing over 300 channels of audio with Fairlight Live. So I think this really shows you how powerful this is. Even low-cost computers can be incredibly powerful audio mixers. So now this Fairlight Live Audio Panel 40 model will retail for $7,495, which is a lot less than broadcast audio solutions of this size. But we think these panels really exceed anything anybody's asked us to do. Like the number one thing we get, the number one request we get is for better audio in the ATEM switches. And to make also a better panel that you can use with the ATEM switches. People wanted a hardware panel for the ATEM audio mixer, but we think using Fairlight Live is a much better solution. It's way more powerful. And also it's a free update for ATEM users. So then of course these panels really complement the software. So we think it's very exciting. And these panels just look so nice. The guys have done such a great job. Okay, so next up, let's talk about Davinci Resolve 21. So it's quite a big update this year. Now we've spent a lot of time on small bug fixes and refinements. In fact, it was almost going to be the primary thing was just a lot of bug fixes this year. But there's a bunch of other new things that have made it in. So the big thing is this new is a new photos page. We've got a lot of people that want to use Davinci's color tools on photography. The color tools in Davinci Resolve are the most advanced in the world, and so why not use them on photography? We have also a lot of new AI tools this year. So there's quite a lot in this update. So as usual, we've got a video that explains all the new features. So let's play the video and you'll see what's new in Davinci Resolve 21.
Davinci Resolve 21 introduces a new generation of AI tools for better media management, higher video quality, and advanced beauty work. There is now a brand new photo page and workflow that lets you use Davinci's Hollywood feature film color grading tools for photography. The edit and cut pages have improved keyframing and curve functionality, as well as a new font browser. In the color page, you can now prepare your timelines for multiple format deliveries with multi-master trim pass grading and updates to the node editor. Fusion now comes with the Crocodile Effects library and an upgraded USD and immersive toolset. In Fairlight, organize audio tracks using the new folder feature. Save countless hours with background rendering, and discover over 100 other new features, including updates for immersive and VR workflows. Let's get started. The latest AI tools will optimize your workflows and help you produce your cleanest, most dynamic images ever. Use AI IntelliSearch to instantly find objects or people in your media. Begin by selecting your IntelliSearch mode in the media pool options. Then click AI Clip Analysis in the toolbar. Select your analysis criteria and click Analyze. Upon completion, you are able to use the search field in the media pool to find media based on content like objects, locations, color schemes, and even specific faces. Click the search icon in the toolbar to indicate whether you'd like your search to be based on the IntelliSearch analysis, the transcribed audio, the clip metadata, or leave it on default to search all. You can also opt to search the active bin or all bins. And set the search results to list full clip matches or just the matching segments of each clip, which behave like subclips when added to the media pool. This tool will enable you to quickly cut scenes, find appropriate cutaways, and build dynamic montages. One of the new identification criteria is AI Slate ID, which automatically detects slates in a shot and reads their metadata. When running AI clip analysis, ensure analysis for slate is enabled. After analysis, duration markers will highlight the start and end frames of the slate. The AI Slate ID can detect scene, take, angle, shoot day, and other metadata, and offer options to populate those fields in the metadata panel. AI Slate ID is extremely proficient at reading data, even when working with underlit or poorly captured slates. The AI Speech Generator creates high-quality spoken audio from written text for natural-sounding voiceover and narration. Use one of Blackmagic Design's preloaded voice models or generate your own based on a sample of your voice.
This is the true story of their historic climb into an active volcano in Antarctica.
Find it in the timeline menu under AI Tools Speech Generator. Enter your desired text in the text input field and select one of 4 voice models or your own custom voice. The voice settings allow you to change the speed and pitch of the delivery as well as the variation from the original voice model sample. Generation IDs provide unique performances of the given text, changing inflection, cadence, and emotion.
This is a true story. This is a true story. And this is a true story.
If you have a preferred delivery, you can reuse the generation ID for repeatable results when experimenting with speed, variance, and pitch, or when generating multiple clips to build a longer narration. Next, indicate if you'd like the speech to appear in the media pool only or also on a specific audio track. You can generate multiple performances and audition the ones you want to use in your final project. Using the custom voice model will prompt you to upload a sample audio file. Analysis of source audio for custom voice generation requires only a short reference, 10 seconds or less, to produce high-quality voice models quickly. And this is the true story of their historic climb into an active volcano in Antarctica. Use AI Cine Focus to set the focus of a shot with a click of your mouse. The out-of-focus areas will feature realistic lens blur and bokeh effects, allowing you to draw the viewer's eye on what matters. Extensive controls in the settings allow you to customize aperture size, focus distance, depth of field, and many more parameters. Use the tabs at the top to preview the scene's depth map, the frame's area of focus, the aperture configuration, and the end result. Keyframe parameters, such as focus distance, to emulate racking focus. You can even adjust the bokeh shape and add chromatic aberration. Davinci Resolve 21 features more beauty and face effects than ever before. The AI blemish removal tool identifies and reduces superficial skin imperfections such as acne, discoloration, spots, and pores while retaining the appearance of natural skin texture. Use the strength slider to adjust the intensity of the tool to better suit the subject in the scene. Use the AI Age Transformer to age or de-age a face. The controls are simple. Start by detecting the faces in the frame, and then use the tracking controls to follow their movement. Enter the subject's approximate age, and then use the age offset slider to make them appear younger or older. This is perfect for continuity when producing stories that span many years. The AI Facer Shaper allows you to adjust the size and shape of individual facial features. Detect and track the desired face in the frame and disable the overlay. Then use the tool's parameter sliders to position, proportion, and animate face shape, eyes, nose, mouth, and eyebrows. Use it to push up performance for comedy and horror or to animate static images. The new AI Ultra Sharpen is Davinci Resolve's most advanced sharpening tool to date. It's perfect for producing clearer images with fewer artifacts when upscaling low-resolution media to HD, 4K, and above. It can even improve the appearance of soft focus shots. AI Motion to Blur helps with the removal of common motion blur artifacts and softness. To apply, select one or more clips in the media pool, right-click and choose AI Tools Remove Motion Blur. Review the file name, format, and other settings before clicking Render. This will generate a motion-deblurred copy of your original file and add it to the media pool. Davinci Resolve 21 now features a fully integrated photo page and workflow for native image processing with the same high-end color grading tools used by Hollywood. It is designed to help you organize and adjust your photographs at source resolution and then use Davinci Resolve's native color management and grading tools such as the primaries wheels, curves, qualifiers, and hundreds of other effects to get results only previously possible in feature films. Working with nodes allows you to build advanced looks that go beyond the capabilities of layers. And you can use Davinci Resolve's built-in scopes to ensure maximum precision when handling the image. Take advantage of the Resolve effects and AI tools for more complex composites and work even faster with Davinci Resolve's color panels. To get started, import your photos into the media pool. Blackmagic Design has worked closely with camera manufacturers to extend native format support for still raw images from Canon, Sony, Nikon, and Fujifilm, as well as other image formats like JPEG, PNG, HEIC, and others. In the photo page, select the desired clips and right-click to create a new album. The photos will appear in an album panel along the bottom of the page. Navigate the thumbnails to review them and use the viewer controls in the lower right to tag photos as good take and rejected, change versions, rate photos on a 5-star scale, change clip colors, and mark them. You can then use the filters to the left of the album panel to display photos with certain tags, ratings, and attributes, helping you quickly manage thousands of still images. The inspector panel on the right of the photo page features a raw tab that allows you to set the native debayer and color management parameters of each photo. In the photo tab, you can adjust the source transforms and cropping. When you navigate to other Davinci Resolve pages, albums will appear like timelines. In the color page, you can add more nodes and use Davinci Resolve's color tools and effects to create more complex looks. You can also use Davinci Resolve's AI toolset on photos, including the new AI IntelliSearch, which will allow you to search for photographs based on content. You can also use lookup tables, DCTLs, and open effects for even more flexibility. The adjustments you make to the photos are retained within the media pool clip itself. This means that when you drag a photo onto one of your video projects, it will already have the raw settings, transforms, grades, and effects that you had applied to it in the album. The capture panel allows for the monitoring, control, and tethered live capture of images from attached Sony and Canon cameras directly into the media pool. Additionally, the photo workflow can be used in multi-user collaboration mode and synced via Blackmagic Cloud. This means that multiple people can access an album simultaneously, speeding up the review and approval process. And when finished, you can use the Quick Export button to export batches of images in various image formats. With GPU acceleration, large numbers of images are processed very quickly. The Cut and Edit pages share several new features and many updates to existing tools. Substantial improvements have been made to the keyframes and curves palettes for the easiest, most efficient animation ever. There are now more easing options, as well as support for looping, allowing you to quickly automate repeating actions using the loop, ping-pong, and relative modes. The retime curves now support 4-point Beziers for complex retiming effects, like easing into a freeze frame. You can now view, keyframe, and ease fusion effects without leaving the edit or cut pages. This allows for a more uninterrupted editing workflow. It is now also possible to adjust the keyframes and curves on multiple timeline clips at once to avoid having to repeat actions. And there is subframe support for markers and certain keyframe parameters on the timeline to help you better align animation to audio subframes, a crucial feature if you're trying to animate to beats or musical cues. There have been several improvements made to the text generators. Davinci Resolve 21 comes with a multi-language text spell checker. Spelling mistakes are highlighted in the inspector text box and the viewer when the Fusion overlay is enabled. Right-click a word to preview suggested replacements, learn spelling, or ignore the word. When selecting a font, hovering over the font list now displays your text in that font so you can edition it prior to making your decision. You can also launch the font browser window to preview, favorite, and search your fonts. And emojis are now supported. You can now drag OGraph HTML graphics directly into the media pool and onto your timeline. Lottie animation files are also supported. They will appear as fully rendered animation clips when added to your project. Alpha channels in both are recognized, meaning you can layer your graphics and titles over video tracks. Use the new Picture-in-Picture Resolve effect to quickly resize and reposition a video clip into the corner of the viewer frame. This allows you to quickly prepare your timeline for presentations, reviews, and reaction videos. Open the inspector to tweak parameters such as position, frame rounding, drop shadow, and many more. When syncing multicam clips, you now have the option to include full clip extents when syncing by in and out points or markers. Additionally, you can opt to include all audio angles in each multicam clip, allowing you to easily choose the best possible audio even if it was synced to a different camera. When dragging mono clips into a stereo audio track on the timeline, the audio will now automatically play in both the left and right channels. There are also multiple performance improvements made to the transcription feature. Among them is the ability to perform word timing analysis for manually entered or imported captions. This means that word-level highlighting is no longer limited to subtitles generated in Davinci Resolve. Also, in cases where you make corrections to internally generated subtitles, you can reanalyze the caption to get accurate word timing. Let's take a look at some media pool and metadata updates that you will find throughout the Davinci Resolve 21 interface. The media pool now supports tabbed layouts. Right-click a bin and select Open as a new tab to more quickly navigate bins in the media pool. Right-click a tab to add a new one, navigate, or close it. Or use the search function in the drop-down to the right of the tab bar to quickly find a specific tab. You can tab conventional bins, as well as smart bins and power bins. You can now set up any bin to always open in metadata, thumbnail, or list view. For example, you might always want to see video clips in thumbnail view and timelines in list view. After setting the media pool to thumbnail view, Right-click the video bin and choose Always Open in Thumbnail View. Next, go to the Timeline bin and change the view to List. Right-click and choose Always Open in List View. When jumping between these bins, they now retain their respective layouts. The 5-star rating and tagging options mentioned in the photo page are available across all content in the media pool. Right-click a column to reveal customization controls. Then search for and add these fields to your media pool columns. You can then populate these fields in the metadata panel when reviewing your content. There is now also a new transcription column, allowing you to see transcribed audio locally in your bin in text form. And in the cut page, smart bins are now supported. Use the bin list drop-down in the upper left of the media pool to access and generate sophisticated media pool filters based on a wide range of rules and criteria, such as displaying only Blackmagic raw clips that have been flagged green. In the color page, the new Multi-Master Trim Manager helps you set up multiple grade trims from a single timeline. Go to Color Multi-Master Trim Manager to get started. Here, you can add, remove, and rename project-wide trim passes and indicate different monitoring, output, and color management settings for each. When enabled, you will see additional layers in the Color Page's node editor, allowing you to apply trims after the clip layers, as well as before and after the group and timeline layers. In the output sizing controls, you can select Use Trim Blanking to apply custom letterboxing per trim. You can then use the Node Graph's Options menu to quickly switch between your trim passes. The main node graph, which includes all the clip node stack layers and the group pre- and post-clip levels, are part of the timeline's hero grade. Any changes you apply here will carry across all trims, making it easier than ever to prepare deliverables from multiple formats while working on a single consistent grade. When ready to render your project, you will now see a trim pass option in the render settings, allowing you to queue up all your trim pass jobs in one go. When using the Magic Mask palette, you can now go to the Options menu and choose Render in Place to generate an external mat of your tracked masks. This rendered file will automatically be imported and connected to your active node as an external mat. This helps preserve Magic Mask track data even when clearing your cache and facilitates faster playback on most workstations. In the upper right corner of the node graph, you can now choose to view your nodes in layer list mode. This simplified view makes it easier to read the order of operations and add, lock, bypass, and remove nodes. In the project settings, you can now opt to have up to 8 node stack layers for more complex grading operations and to support a wider range of color grading workflows. When working with groups, you can now have different group grade versions, allowing you to more easily try out different looks for your scenes. When working on HDR projects, you can now customize the nit range displayed in the scopes to better represent the signal range to which you will be delivering. And the new standard immersive workflow brings dedicated lat-long workflows and rotational transform controls for VR 180 and VR 360 video deliveries for the Meta Quest and YouTube. There have also been major improvements made to the Resolve Apple immersive workflow for high-fidelity renders to the Apple Vision Pro. In Fairlight, you can now organize audio tracks into folders for better track management. Select 2 or more audio tracks, right-click, and choose Add Tracks to New Folder. A folder track is created featuring a composite view of all the audio tracks represented by mini rectangles. Click the expansion arrow next to the folder name to collapse and expand the folder, revealing the original tracks with clips and waveforms. Folders can be renamed and nested up to 3 levels, allowing for efficient organization in timelines featuring dozens or even hundreds of tracks. The Fusion page has several major updates, the first being the introduction of the new Fairlight Animator modifier. This enables automatic animation based on embedded audio levels. A new macro editor window means that creating Fusion templates has never been easier. As you add parameters to the template or macro, these controls will pop up on the right side of the window. You can reorder controls, add separators, create nested controls, and even save this macro as a template to be used on the edit page. With the new Multi-Inspector button, you can edit common properties that are shared among the selected nodes. After selecting multiple nodes, click the Multi-Inspector button and common properties will be listed in the inspector. Now, when you adjust one of the properties, all the selected nodes will be updated. In addition to controlling multiple nodes at once, you can also control multiple layers in a single node, such as with the multi-poly or multi-merge nodes. Fusion's lens distortion tool now allows you to analyze checkerboard grids on a single frame or a range of frames to derive a lens distortion solve. This is essential when unwarping footage for 3D camera tracking or for warping 3D renders so that they match the camera's natural lens distortion. Fusion's native 3D renderer now enables cryptomatte data for both objects and materials, allowing you to build complex mattes without multiple renders. The Relief Map tools, Create Relief Map and Relief Map, let you create detailed surface textures that self-occlude and do not require subdividing geometry. Fusion's Deep toolset now includes full layer support. And a new Deep Color Corrector node enables color correction directly on deep images without having to convert to a flat image first. Fusion's USD system has been updated to the USD SDK 25.11 with Hydra 2.0 for the Storm renderer. The ULoader node now includes global in and out controls, and the URenderer node includes NI as an output option, which provides camera relative normals that are essential for relighting. With the Is Matte checkbox, you can designate geometry to be rendered as a matte to occlude other objects in the scene. Finally, the new UProjector and UCatcher nodes enable projecting images across your USD scene as an image to add details to your geometry, or as a texture for reprojection workflows. Several updates have been made for stereoscopic and immersive workflows in Fusion. Media in nodes can now be set to layers, so that you can process both the right and left eyes in a single node tree. You can now also create Fusion effects and title templates that are compatible with stereoscopic and immersive clips. There are several updates to the text and multi-text tools. These tools now support spell checking and will suggest spelling corrections via the context menu. Both colored fonts and emojis are now supported, and multi-text now has improved position, pivot, and alignment for CSV imports. The Fusion page now includes a speed warp tool, which uses the same powerful retiming engine as found on the edit and cut pages. There are also several user interface updates, including the ability to pop out spline and keyframes panels, vastly improved guides, viewer support for stereoscopic layers, and the ability to monitor Fusion previews through remote monitoring. A new variables system in Fusion extends Fusion's powerful scripting capabilities so that you can create your own variables in the Preferences panel under Variables Map. You can now use these new variables in expressions or in loader and saver paths. As mentioned earlier, Fusion now supports OGraph HTML graphics and Lottie animations, making it easier to integrate modern web-based and lightweight scalable motion graphics into your workflow. And finally, Crocodove brings professional motion graphics creation directly into Fusion with dozens of powerful tools at your disposal. These industry-proven effects, now built into Fusion, unlock endless creative possibilities for stunning animations and graphics. As usual, the latest Davinci Resolve features even more format and codec support. You now have enhanced, extended, and faster MXF growing file support for broadcast and streaming workflows. Canon's CR3 and Fujifilm's RAF formats now have decode support and RAW controls. Nikon's NEF and Sony's ARW formats have also seen notable improvement in decode support. And when rendering H.265, you can now use the main concept encoder for MV-HEVC 420 and 422 encoding. Background rendering can now be enabled for a variety of actions, allowing you to continue working on your projects while data is being processed. Open Preferences and go to System, Background Tasks to enable background rendering operations when using the Quick Export panel or the Deliver page. You can opt to pause rendering when actively working on your project to ensure uninterrupted playback. And you can designate text transcription and proxy generation as background tasks. As you may have spotted, there are now search fields in the Preferences and Project Settings windows, which will save you time when looking for specific parameters. The Data Burn-In window has been updated for more flexible burn-in layout design. On the left, search for the metadata you'd like included as burn-ins. In the central column, these attributes will be added to metadata fields. Each field has a dedicated set of overlay controls, allowing you to group certain attributes and quickly set up burn-ins and watermarks throughout the frame. You can type within fields to add spaces and descriptors, and use the tabs at the top to switch between project-wide and clip-specific field application. When done, go to the Options menu to save your layout as a preset. We hope you enjoyed learning about these new additions to DaVinci Resolve 21. Thank you for watching.
So you can see it's a big update. Also, there was mention of a Crocodile motion effects and graphics tools. Now, we've done a few acquisitions recently, and one of them was the Crocodile effects package. So these effects will now be included in DaVinci Resolve, and that's over 70 amazing effects that will be built in. So I have a quick demo reel that shows you what some of those effects can do. So let's play the Crocodile demo reel. So I think these all look amazing, and now they're all fusion effects. So you can build, you can build on them and customize your own styles. So overall, this is a huge update for DaVinci. Now we'll be posting a public beta to our website today. Now DaVinci Resolve 21 is a free download, so the update will also be free. But the full DaVinci Resolve Studio 21 update will also be free of charge. Now I think at some point, some of these larger updates, we could have an upgrade charge, but we haven't really charged for any of these upgrades yet. And the reason is because we have a lot of people a lot of people buying DaVinci Resolve Studio. So that's helping pay for the engineering team. So I really want to thank you and thank everyone who's purchased the full DaVinci Resolve Studio. It's paid for all these new features. So it'll be a really nice upgrade for everyone. Please download us and the software update and let us know how you go. I'm really very interested to see how people use the new Photos page. I think there'll be a lot of little tweaks and improvements we can make on that over time, but that's the fun part. Okay, lastly, we've got a few price changes to some products. There's been some crazy flash memory costs happening all over the last few weeks, and so prices have shot up on multiple times the original price. It's been crazy. So what we've done is we removed the 8 terabyte media module from the Blackmagic Cine 17K65 body-only model. That's the one that's just the body without any of the accessories. And we've replaced it with a CF Express module. So now you can record on CF Express cards at lower frame rates and lower quality, but it makes the camera much more affordable. And it's really important if you just want the body and you already have media modules, you don't need to be forced to buy a media module every time you get the camera, particularly the body only model. We have the kits that you can buy with, more items like the media modules. So the Blackmagic Cine 17K65 body only model price will be reduced from $21,995. It'll come down to $16,995. So you can really see what a difference removing those memory modules takes with the memory prices at the moment. We also have a price reduction on the Blackmagic Cine Immersive. That's the original immersive camera. You might have noticed that the 100G model was actually less than the 10G model. That we've got a new lower price for the Blackmagic Cine as well, immersive as well. And it's really manufacturing improvements. We've been automating more and getting better at building the cameras, so it brings down the cost. So the Blackmagic Cine Immersive will be reduced in price from $29,995. It'll come down to $24,995, which is a much better price. So that's about all for this update. We've covered quite a lot of products and updates we've been working on. So it's been really great to be able to explain everything and to share some of our thoughts on how we're designing these products. And plus we give you a bit of a glimpse of some of the future roadmap for these workflows. I want to thank everyone at Blackmagic Design. Everyone's worked really, really hard on all this new equipment. But thanks for watching. And if you're heading to the show, travel safely. And I'm really looking forward to having some great conversations about all these new products. And so take care and bye for now. See you.